Hi guys, I'm Isabel from the upcoming. It's really lovely to speak to you both today. Congratulations on a fantastic series of Primo. I loved it. Um, so perhaps I could kind of start with you, Shea. Could you perhaps give us a little background to what the series Primo is all about, what viewers can expect, and why you wanted to kind of tell this story because it's obviously quite a personal journey for you as well.
Yeah, the show is about this family living in South San Antonio. There's a mom, her five brothers, and then a 16-year-old kid, and they're all just sort of trying to help raise this kid, lift him up a little bit. And I think the reason I wanted to tell the story was it just seemed like a fun thing to do, honestly. Like just like that's all I'm ever trying to do is like I just want to make like cool things with cool people, and it seemed fun, and like I wanted to watch that specific show, and so I started poking around, and then I ran into Mike, and now that's the guy you make the show with. You know what I mean? And here we are.
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, how did that collaboration between you kind of come about? Because I know, Mike, obviously, this story has some real, themes of family and positivity and things that you're really drawn to. And we've seen in your previous shows, Mike, with like Parks and Recreation and The Good Place, there's things you're kind of drawn to anyway. So how did this collaboration happen and what was the appeal of it for you?
Well, it happened because I heard that Shea was coming out to meet with people and he had an idea for a TV show. And I loved his writing about basketball specifically and also hip hop. And I knew of him a lot, mostly through his online prose writing. So I was like, I'd love to meet that guy. So we met in my office and just talked about like basketball and nonsense for an hour. And then at the end of it, I was like, well, you seem great. Like, if you want help with your idea, whatever your idea is, like, great, I would love to help you. So, because we had hit it off, he chose me as his dance partner, and um, he told me what the idea was. And I think sometimes, TV's weird, and things that seem like surefire hits or crash and burn, and things that you never think in a million years are going to work somehow last for 10 years. But when he told me the idea, I was like, yeah, that'll work. Like, that's a great idea. Like, that's, I would like, I just, he was like, oh, it's a mom and her 16-year-old kid, and the mom has five brothers, and each of the five brothers has a really specific personality trait. Like, yeah, yes, great. Like, let's do that. That sounds great. Let's do that. I immediately thought of the movie Inside Out. I was like, this is live action Inside Out. It's like a 16-year-old kid with five uncles who are hovering around him, like, saying like, go to the military, go to college, don't go to college, wander the earth, whatever. Like, that's an extremely good and viable idea for a TV show. And I liked Shane, I liked the idea, so we teamed up, and that was like 6 years ago. It's had a long and winding road since then.
And obviously, you've got this brilliant ensemble cast of, established actors and also, some relative newcomers kind of to the screen. What was it like working with them on the storylines of you, Shay? Did you kind of have any of those actors in mind when you created this story?
I think the one thing that I was really like hoping would happen is I anytime we talked about the show, I always brought up Parks and Rec because it's one of my favorite shows ever, and it's just a really funny show that like sneaks up on you with some emotional moments, and I'm like, that's to me, that's a perfect setup for a show, stuff that does that. But one of the things that I always liked about it was I remember watching that show when I just graduated college, and I knew who Amy Poehler was, but I didn't know any of the other people. And so for the rest of my life, after watching the show for several years, like I see Chris Pratt and he's voicing Mario or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Parks and Rec is his first role I think of, and his first for Ron Swanson and for Aubrey Plaza. When I watch her Emily the Criminal, I'm like, man, this is crazy what she's up to now. Like things take a turn. You know what I mean? And so when we were making this show, I was like, I would really like for that to happen. So we have Christina, who's like our version of Amy, and then a bunch of other actors, really smart, talented, funny actors who I'm hoping that they'll be like, that's the role that I remember them from. You know what I mean? This is what I was
Yeah,
hoping for.
well, I think that's really cool and sort of giving them a chance, I guess, as well. um, so coming on board this as executive producer, Mike, can you tell us about the choice to kind of film using a single camera that I've read? Was it a conscious choice of the filmmaking to give the audience a more kind of intimate and engaged connection to the Gonzalez family.
Yeah, you choose the shooting style and the production style of the show based on the themes and the ideas of the show, right? And in this case, like, the opening sequence that Shea wrote is you're in a quiet room in this 16-year-old kid's room, and he wanders out into his house, but before he does, he takes this deep breath and he's like, here we go. And he opens it and it's immediately like just person, chaos, conversation. So that single camera handheld feeling is really good in for making the audience feel like they're in the room with the person, right? Like that's how you do it in drama. It works in dramas, it works in comedies. It just makes you feel as a viewer that you are experiencing what the characters are experiencing in the room, as opposed to the multi-camera setup is like, it's very theatrical, right? Or you're watching like a play happen in a proscenium stage. And so I just immediately from the beginning, when he pitched the idea, was like, this has to be a single camera show. Cameras have to be breathing and living a little bit because you want the audience to feel what it's like to be in a house with 5 intense uncles and a mom and the girl that he's in love with and the challenges he's facing, all that sort of stuff. So putting the camera in a sort of living, breathing place next to him as in his environment seemed like kind of a no-brainer.
And obviously, I believe all 8 episodes are filmed in Albuquerque in New Mexico. What were some of maybe the challenges or highlights of filming there for you guys?
What would you say, Shea?
I really liked filming out there. It felt like a smaller version of San Antonio. It looked like San Antonio. We found a house that was like, oh man, this is a very, very close version of where I grew up. There's obviously a large Latino population that's out there that I was excited about. I really enjoyed it. It was also kind of neat to be like, if you're in San Antonio, I have like all of my people around me and all of my distractions around me and everything. When we were out there, it was like, we're gonna put you in a house and then you're gonna be on set, and those are the only 2 places you're gonna go for the next 3 months. And it was like a struggle at first, and then my family, my wife and kids came out and stayed with me, and I was like, oh, this is really like all I was focused on. I love being on Twitter. I was barely ever even on my phone out there because I was just so like, don't screw this up. Focus everything you can on it. I really like shooting out there. It was great.
Oh, and what do you hope viewers will take away from watching this?
I think ideally what I would like to have happen is the same thing that has happened with me and my favorite TV shows, like about a long day at work and I'm frustrated or annoyed and I want to just like unwind and let me just like put on a few episodes of The Office or Parks and Rec or Abbott Elementary or whatever. Like just feel better about stuff for a little bit is what I like. That would be my dream ending for Primo, is that it becomes that for somebody. They even one single person, if they're like, let me see what the Gonzalez family is up to today, and just turn it on for a few episodes. That's the dream for me.
And for you, Mike, what do you think the sort of themes that you hope viewers will take away from watching this?
I want to win a Nobel Peace Prize. I hope we win a Nobel Peace Prize. So my goals are a little loftier than Shea's, I guess. No, the one of the many things about it that appealed to me is like it has this really sort of timeless feeling about it. Like I think no matter how old you are, I'm 47, I'm ancient, but no matter how old you are, you have the experience of watching a show that kind of feels like it could have been, it could be funny in any era, or it could exist in any era. Like sometimes when I watch Cheers, I'm like, this would still work today. You get this cast, you teleport them to the present, you do this premise right now. There's no reason why you couldn't watch this show now. And that's obviously that is a lofty goal. I'm not saying the show is going to be more important than Cheers, but what the thing I'm getting at is like this show has a kind of like sort of timelessness about it that really appeals to me. So I just hope that like I hope people watch it and like it and find something that they relate to, and then also that if in 10 years they could do the same thing, that would be great to me. I think in the way that shows work now is like everything's available forever in theory, and so I would love it if there were people who discovered the show now and then also could do so a long time down the road.
Oh, well, thank you both so much for speaking to me. Congratulations on it, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you. Thank you.